This is a call for an uprising. We welcome you to today's show and ask those of you who have not subscribed to please subscribe to our YouTube channel as we continue to expose the satanic Illuminati agenda. Today's show, I want to talk about the music industry and how they put spells on people through the music, how they cast spells out onto people, onto Christians, onto anyone out there listening. And I'm going to play a clip from a man named John Todd. The clip came out in about somewhere in the middle of the 70s, 1970s. It's still around today. You can find the entire audio on YouTube if you search for it. The man that you'll hear speaking is a former member of the Illuminati, of Satanism. He was a very, very high up person in the occult. He is presumed to be dead now. I know there's a lot of people out there that aren't sure if this guy was truthful or if he wasn't. You can decide on your own. I've never met the man, so I can't account for what he says, but all I can do is tell you I've listened to everything that he's said and spoken of, and it all falls into the category of truth as far as I'm concerned, with everything that I've studied with Satanism and the occult. It's believed that he was assassinated. Fritz Springmeier talks about that in one of his books, that he was assassinated after he was released from prison. He was framed for some crimes that he didn't commit, because back in the 70s when you were exposing this kind of stuff, it was a big problem. So they went after him very, very hard. But the thing to listen to here is how they put spells on these songs, not just through the lyrics, but they actually summon demons and put them on these tracks so that when you listen to it, you're inviting demonic entities and demonic presences into your home. So listen to him talk, and he talks a lot about rock music, because in the 70s, remember, there wasn't rap, there wasn't pop, there wasn't hip-hop, there wasn't all this stuff. It really was just revolved around rock and roll, and they used these rock and roll artists like Kiss, like AC/DC, like all of these guys, the Rolling Stones, Crosby, Stills, and Nash. All of these singers at that time were the ones they used. Now we see how it's evolved into pop music, into rap music. You have Katy Perry doing it. You have, it goes from the variation of people doing it goes from Katy Perry to Lil Wayne. I mean, it's all over the map. Everybody's doing it, including Christian rock bands that are involved in this, that are wolves in sheep's clothing. So take a listen to what he has to say, and I'll talk about it after.
I said on a council of 13 people that take orders only from the Rothschild Tribunal in London, which they claim they take their orders directly from Lucifer.
I was the manager of Zodiac Productions, which Zodiac Productions, its name's been changed since then. I'm not even sure what they call it now, but it's the largest music conglomerate in the world. It owns RCA Records, Columbia Records, Motown Records, owns almost all the concert booking agencies in the United States. And that's not even the name of the company that owns it. The name of the company that owns it is Brenner Enterprises, and Brenner Enterprises is owned by Chase Manhattan. Chase Manhattan's owned by Standard Oil, and Standard Oil is owned by the Lords of London. You can track it all back. You kind of get the idea after a while. But I was the managing president of Zodiac Productions. It's one of my jobs, as being one of these 13 people. Thus, I got to know many of the people who produce music and sing the music and play the music that you play. Now, one of the closest friends that I got during that time that I obtained was a man named David Crosby. Crosby, Still, Nash and Young. I saw David the day before Christmas last year, talked with him. I got him away from this witch that he had with him. He told her to go shopping. We were in West Hollywood, and I was witnessing around to people I knew. We went off in this store and we started talking. I said, David, I'd like to ask you a couple questions. I said, I already know the answers, but I've been gone for 5 years. I'd like to know if certain things are still the way they were when I left. I said, now I'll have to explain some of this when I'm done, because you're not going to understand it all unless you know something about music. I said, do they still take the master to the temple room? Dave said, yeah. I said, do they still have the coven conjure demons into the master? He said, of course. I said, now, I got to know something. What's the main reason for rock music? He said, come on, Lance, you know what the reason is. I said, please, David, I don't want to guess. Tell me what the main reason is. He said, the same as when you were in, so that we can play spells on people that we couldn't cast spells upon. I'll explain what that means in a minute. I said, okay, one last thing. I've been hearing that you must be an initiated witch now to get a record contract. He said, that's right. He says, many of us that weren't total witches have to be witches now in order to produce music. I said, thank you. The master is a tape about as big as the top of this podium. that looks like an overgrown 8-track that the album is cut on and is placed in a machine that produces and presses the records and the 8-tracks and cassettes that you buy. After it's been recorded, it's taken in. This is why a master is cut months in advance before it's released. On the full moon, it's taken in to a temple room about the size of this auditorium that is in every one of the major music companies, behind locked doors up in the executive offices. And it's placed on an altar sitting in the north of the room, and a pentagram engraved in the floor. And 13 hand-chosen witches and wizards and a coven come in and conjure a principality or a power up, usually Regia or something like that, and order him to tell the demons under him to follow every record and every tape coming off of that master. As I tell many Christian parents, you can go home and count your kids' records, probably yours too, and count how many demons at least are there. If that's too hard for you to believe, I'm sorry. That's why they do it. Now listen to me. This is why rock music's addicting. Have you ever seen kids that got rid of their music? They go around like this. They can't wait to find a rock station somewhere, and they sneak off just like getting a cigarette or a fix because it's addicting. That's why they can't give it up. The rest of the conversation was this. You can't cast a spell on a Christian, but you can get a Christian to cast a spell on themselves. If you give the permission for the spell to work, being a Christian won't block it. And rock music is not just a song. It is supernatural music that which is carefully designed by their spirit guides or familiar spirits in the form of spells. Now, although the devil's music's power is the music and God's music is the words, much of the songs are written in what we call witch language. Give you kind of an idea. Many of you talk on a CB, unless you know what a smoky is, and a 10-4, and a front door and back door and rocking chair and these type of things. You don't know what you're talking about. Same with witches. When you're in the first and second level, you have to learn over 2,000 words that said by anybody else mean something totally different than when you say them. Elton John has said he's never written a song or sung a song that wasn't in witch language. Now I want to show you something. See how many kids in here, be honest, and adults. How many remember and have heard at least several times a song called Hotel California? Somebody tell me what it meant. Quickly, somebody tell me what it meant. Huh? That's pretty close. But from the words, what did it mean? Well, that's more of a guess. See, most people can't tell you. That's why when people do drugs and they listen to songs in which language, they get some of the meaning. But most of the time, they can't tell you. Stop and think how many songs are out there that you really like, and you don't have any idea what the person was talking about. Beyond the Yellow Brick Road? How about The Destroyer by Kiss? Can anybody tell me what it's about? Kiss said in it, kids, kill your parents. It's talking about Helter Skelter. Beatles sung Helter Skelter in which language? Nobody knew what it meant. Manson did because he belonged to the process. Helter Skelter is a several thousand-year-old word. Most of the music is either about Helter Skelter or a place called the Night Winds, which is what Hotel California is about, and different doctrines of witchcraft. You listen to them, your parents let you listen to them, and they have no idea. Kiss openly bragged how they were gaining control of people through their music because the people played their music. They told how they didn't form their own group. Their church, because they were ordained ministers of the Satanist church, placed them together. And that's how most of the music is done. David Crosby, when him and Crosby, Still, Nash and Young produced the record Two-Way Street, they ordered the principality of Medici to order demons of rebellion to go into the record, and everybody that heard it would be rebellious against law and order and government. And it was one of the reasons for the great upheaval in the 60s was that one album. And they take open credit for it.
To be able to usher in the Antichrist unless they created a false reality around us and hid themselves from us. They had to make sure generations were removed of people who believed in witches and warlocks and these people out there casting spells. They had to start building a new foundation for what we were supposed to perceive reality as. That's why they created all this doctrine in the schools and all of these things to create a different illusion of what really goes on out there. There's no mention in your history books about all of these people performing witchcraft and all of these things. Right? We learn about histories of war and this stuff. It's all hidden from us, but it's been going on forever, since Babylon. We know it's been going on since the beginning of time. And it's still going on, like I said, but it's hidden. It is hidden. But you have to realize, music isn't this ancient thing. Just because you're a certain age, however old you are listening to this, the world has been around for thousands of years. Music and this stuff is only 100 years old or so, not even. Music with lyrics behind it. Yes, obviously there was music and chants and tribes and those things. I'm talking about the music industry and what it represents. It was a new thing. They brought it in. They started performing the spells that way, going after Christians, going after people who believe in Jesus Christ, because they were bringing in demons into their home where normally demons wouldn't be able to get in the door because of the protection of the Holy Spirit. But by buying these albums and doing these things, you're bringing in entities into your house. It's like the quote-unquote myth they created with Dracula, where he can only come in if you invite him. Well, demons can only come if you summon demons or you bring them in. And you could bring in pieces like idols into your house that could have demonic possession behind it. Somebody could have put a spell on them. But when you're listening to these songs, you're bringing in demons into your home. You're listening to witchcraft, whether it's in forward or in reverse. Whether they're putting the spell on you backwards through backmasking, which we talked about with Aleister Crowley and the law of reversal. Either way, we're allowing ourselves to be put under these spells and to be put under not just hypnosis, but to be put under a spell. And we have to stop. We have to wake people up to what's going on. I know how it sounds to people because they're under such hypnosis that they'll come here and they'll go, funniest thing I've heard all day, because they're so nice. I mean, they can't snap out of it. They just can't snap out of it. And hearing someone like me talk won't snap them out of it, unfortunately for them. But hopefully something helps them snap out of it. But for you who's listening, who subscribes to this channel, who is trying to learn about the Illuminati, you have to understand music is a vessel that they use. And it's very difficult to separate from it because music is a part of all of our lives, right? We drive in the car, we listen to music. We always constantly are indoctrinated with new music, new spells. It's hard to separate from it because we've grown up our entire lives with it, never thinking of what it really was. Thinking that, when you're 10 years old, you're thinking these people are doing expressions of art. And you're, he's talking about his breakup. And then, you grow up and you realize this stuff. Or you wake up and you see what's really going on is that they are trying to summon demons into your own home and put you under a spell and draw you away from God and do whatever else these things they summon do. So be alert and be aware of these things. If you want to listen to the rest of his testimony, it's online. It's a few hours long. And it's from the 70s. The audio quality is not great, but the message is there. And you'll hear stuff that'll freak you out. But it's deep, it's long, and it's hard to argue against his testimony because it's very detailed. And it's from the 70s. And I don't know how somebody could pull this out of a hat here. Pull this story out of thin air. It is very detailed, very frightening for a lot of people out there. It should make your stomach turn. But just think about reality. 100 years ago, 150 years ago, we were in the Little House on the Prairie days, okay? You could go in your carriage somewhere, settle down on the land, build a house on your own, go out and hunt, harvest your own food, and survive like that. You weren't so dependent on money. Yes, you traded your crop for somebody else's, so here's my eggs, can I get some bread or some corn? Great. And everybody was self-dependent. That was only 150 years ago. That wasn't 1,000 years ago. It wasn't 2,000 years ago. 150 years. It's like 2 generations removed. Your great-grandparents, or maybe your grandparents, were involved living in those times. And look where we've gotten to now, where we've lost total control. And all we are is dependent on our government. Back then, you were dependent on yourself and your family. Your wife would do the cooking. You go out, do the hunting, and raise the children together. Raise them on what? On the Bible. Teach them lessons in life that were important. And these generations continued to grow up and nobody was getting led astray. People were under control. Kids weren't running rampant like maniacs like they are now. We weren't dependent every second of every day on paying a bill because we were dependent on ourselves to do this. We were self-sufficient, and now we no longer are. And music was around back then, but not with lyrics, not with what it is now, where they're putting spells on. And look what they put us into. 150 years ago, settling somewhere, building a house. Now you couldn't even go squat in the woods, you'd get arrested. You got to pay property tax, you got to do this, you got to do that. It's total control by the government. Total control. But they've only ushered this in recently, and they've used music as a tool, okay, to put us under these spells. It's been one of their tools to go after Christians. So be alert and be aware. I thank you for listening to today's show. God bless all of you. May peace be with you.